Hello and welcome to this week's Solution Saturday. In this series, we'll be focusing on the more difficult questions from the North London Independent Girls' Schools Consortium Group 1 2017 paper. In this video, we'll be going through the solution for question 44 step by step, and hopefully you can see how you can utilise the techniques you've already learnt in class to solve the problem. If you have any questions, then don't hesitate to ping us on Facebook, Instagram, or in the comments section down below. The diagram below shows patterns drawn on a square dotted grid. On the grid below, draw pattern 4. You will have come across many similar problems in class. You would know that the first thing we need to do is identify any trends in the patterns, and essentially figure out a formula for the number of squares that make up the length of each pattern. By doing this, we'll save ourselves a lot of extra work, as we can make the rest of the calculations efficient. By simple observation, we can notice that each time the length increases by 2 small squares. We go from 1 to 3 to 5 and so on. Therefore, we know that for pattern 4, the square must be 7 small squares wide and long. We can go ahead and draw this out. We also know that there is a ring of squares surrounding this area, so we'll draw that out now. Now moving on to the second part of the question, we are asked to complete the table below. From the 2 pieces of data already here and the number of small squares row, we can already see a pattern emerging. If your pattern number is your nth term, then the number of small squares is 8n. So we can continue filling in this row using this rule. So multiplying 3 by 8 will give us 24 and so on. If you have extra time to check your answers, you can even manually count the number of small squares to make sure you're on the right track. Moving on to the next row. This row is for the perimeter of the pattern. Now your first question would probably be, do I include the inside of the pattern? This is where the example comes in. Just counting the external perimeter of pattern 1 would give us 12. We already know that the perimeter is 16. So we can conclude that the question is asking us for the sum of the internal and external perimeter, which would give us 16 as the internal perimeter is 4. Now if we manually count the perimeter of pattern 2, we get 32. Can you notice a pattern? If the pattern number is your nth term, then the perimeter of the pattern is 16n. We can use this rule to complete the table. And now for the final part of the question. What is the number of small squares in pattern 20? We've already identified the rule for the number of small squares, which is 8n. So to figure out the number of small squares in pattern 20, all we need to do is multiply 20 by 8, giving us 160 small squares. Thank you for watching. We hope you've been able to build on your knowledge of patterns, sequences, and the nth term. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment or reach out on our other platforms. Check out the other videos in the playlist for more solutions on tricky questions from this paper.